This is TVS. In 10 minutes, whoops, apocalypse. Now it's 9:35 and time for the national and international news from ITN.
IRA kill Ulster policeman as he leaves church. 26 die on El Salvador's election day. 2 National Gallery masterpieces slashed. And why they're said no to Little Legs. Good evening. A senior Ulster policeman was shot dead today in front of his children as he left church. Inspector Norman Duddy, who was 45, is the first full-time RUC man to be murdered this year. The IRA has said they did it. He had just left a Presbyterian church in Londonderry where he was a member of the choir. He was with his 2 teenage sons. As they prepared to drive home, 2 men rode up on a motorcycle and fired through the car window at point-blank range. His sons were unhurt. Inspector Duddy was killed instantly. The shooting happened only 200 yards from Londonderry's main police station where the inspector worked. In El Salvador, the controversial general election has gone ahead despite heavy fighting in which 26 people have been killed today. Left-wing guerrillas attacked polling booths across the country in attempts to disrupt voting. Political groups on the left are boycotting the election because they say their candidates would be attacked by the right. But America's ambassador in El Salvador has called today's poll a major success. He says it'll end the civil war. Guerrilla forces have launched their biggest attack in over a year to coincide with the election, and some of the heaviest fighting was in the center of the capital, San Salvador.
It started at dawn, guerrillas challenging the army in a middle-class suburb in the north of the city. The troops at first uncertain where the rebels were. The guerrilla tactic apparently to try to prevent voting from starting here. Suddenly, an armored personnel carrier moved in. It was to prove to be the guerrillas' undoing. Holed up in the adjoining shantytown, they were cornered by the advancing troops. A blazing exchange for 15 minutes, running, and then the end. Guerrilla dead strewn across the shanty street. Troops checking the corpses for ammunition and valuables. Still more shots as the soldiers carried their own casualties. 12 dead guerrillas, an entire commando squad wiped out. In the aftermath, terrified shanty dwellers brought from their houses at gunpoint, forced to lie on the ground and brutally questioned. Some in panic-stricken shock. Amid it all, election slogans on a lamppost. And a mile away, on the southern side of town, in tranquility, voting. It is compulsory, and to be found without a voting stamp in your ID card risks much. But if the guerrilla design was to halt it, then here in the capital at least, there was a kind of election. But if this was the scene in the city, that in the areas where the guerrillas are strong was very different. 37 tankers had set out in a military convoy from San Salvador trying to get petrol to the east of the country to fuel buses and trucks to get people to the polls. Suddenly the guerrillas were spotted ahead and all hell broke loose. The Minister of Defense had said that the convoy would get through, but even his helicopter gunships failed to dislodge the rebels. Mortar and machine gun fire smashed the lead army truck. The vehicle behind hurtled back to the convoy bearing the casualties. 3 escort soldiers wounded, and in the back of the truck, the body of the army driver. Usulatan, on the only other road east, was raked with gunfire too. No vehicle passed east all day. Troops in the town just fending off the guerrillas in the suburbs, pinning down residents on street corners. And on the nearby airfield, an emergency landing of 300 of the US-trained quick response troops. They had been withdrawn from the streets of the capital where they'd been deployed to protect polling. The convoy, meanwhile, was turning back, forced back by guerrilla action. El Salvador cut in two for the first time ever. The military had failed to get supplies through to the east. There, the people have endured 2 weeks without fuel or electricity. Yet these are the conditions in which they're being asked to vote. Back in the capital, tears. A mother grieves for her son shot in a firefight with the army in yet another polling day incident. Outside, in one of 10 separate battles, soldiers fired up shantytown alleys. A bloody day for thousands and little hope that the vote will do anything to relieve the interminable suffering. Jon Snow, ITN, El Salvador.
The ITN crew with Jon Snow in El Salvador is Alan Downs and Don Warren. In London, 5,000 people marched through the streets in protest at the El Salvador elections. The marchers went past the American embassy denouncing the elections as a fraud aimed at installing a right-wing president. The demonstrators called for an end to American support for El Salvador's military regime.
US aid, free of charge, no strings attached, just a rope around your neck.
In Trafalgar Square, the demonstrators heard the Labour leader, Mr. Michael Foot, describe the elections as a grisly farce and attacked the British government for sending observers there. Argentina has cancelled all Navy leave as tension with Britain over the disputed Falkland Islands grows. Argentina has sent 5 warships into the South Atlantic, and it's thought they may be heading for the disputed Falkland territory of South Georgia. The Ministry of Defence in London say they've sent a scientific research vessel, the John Biscoe, with a party of Marines to replace the garrison of 40 men guarding the islands. The ice patrol ship HMS Endurance is already anchored off the coast of South Georgia with a squad of 12 Marines on board. They were directed there after an Argentine salvage team landed there to dismantle an old whaling station. The men were armed, they raised the Argentine flag and sang their national anthem. 2 paintings worth millions of pounds each have been slashed at the National Gallery. The paintings, a Turner and a Claude, were cut several times, but they can be restored. Turner bequeathed his sun rising through vapour to the gallery when he died in 1851. It measures 4 feet 6 by 6 feet. Claude's The Mill, which is slightly larger, was one of the original works bought when the gallery was founded in 1824. The paintings were hanging together, and an 18-year-old youth has been charged with criminal damage. The Israeli government has said today it had uncovered a plan by the Palestine Liberation Organization for a civil uprising on the occupied West Bank of the Jordan. The Israelis said that widespread disturbances were planned to start in May after Israel had withdrawn from the Sinai. The announcement comes on the day when 3 more Arabs were wounded in clashes with Israeli army patrols. The Israelis say that it was because of their uncovering of the plan that they dismissed 3 West Bank Arab mayors last week. Ian Smith's top sanction buster, who flew supply planes during Rhodesia's years of UDI, has died flying his wartime Spitfire. 62-year-old Jack Mallock flew with the RAF during the war, flew in the Berlin airlift, carried arms and mercenaries into the Congo, and the first food into Biafra. This 31-year-old Spitfire was the love of his life. During his sanction-busting journeys, he collected spares and rebuilt it. He crashed yesterday in a maneuver like this, the famous Spitfire peel-off. He disappeared into the clouds and crashed just outside Salisbury. The Space Shuttle Columbia is now all set to land on schedule at 8:27 our time tomorrow evening at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. The astronauts Jack Lasmer and Gordon Fullerton were showing how they'd overcome the problems of weightless eating during their 3.5 million mile flight. They also opened the payload bay doors to reveal the Earth 150 miles below. The view, they said, was spectacular. When Columbia lands tomorrow, she'll have made 116 orbits of Earth in a mission lasting 7 days. The first yacht to finish the Whitbread round-the-world race should cross the line at Portsmouth tomorrow. The Dutch entry, Flyer, had hoped to be there this afternoon, but was held up by poor winds south of Plymouth. Even so, Flyer is set to go into the record books, completing the arduous journey in record time.
Flyer was sighted this afternoon just off Plymouth with 140 miles to go to the finishing line at Portsmouth, which he should cross in record time tomorrow. Right from the start, she's the boat everybody's watched, and she's justified that attention. First at each of the 3 stops on this 27,000-mile race, and now, failing something totally unexpected, first home. The nearest boat to her is Saramco of New Zealand, well over 100 miles behind. The previous record for the round the world was 134 days. Flyer will complete the trip in 121. Only 24 of the 28 boats that started the race in August last year are completing. Ray Maloney, ITN, Portsmouth.
Carlos Reutemann, the Argentine driver, has retired from Formula One racing. Reutemann, who's 39, is the oldest and most experienced driver in Formula One. He drove in 146 Grand Prix races, winning 12, but never a World Championship. Last year, driving for the Williams team, he finished second in the World Championship, missing first place by a point. Afterwards, he announced his retirement, but was lured back by Williams with a contract reportedly worth over £1 million. They'll be changing the guard at Buckingham Palace an hour early on May the 9th to make way for the London Marathon. The guardsmen need to be clear of the Mall before the stampede of 18,000 runners. That's more than twice as many as in the first race last year. That's what is now a world's largest marathon race. But there's one award-winning distance runner who won't be lining up at the start.
Even before setting off for school, 11-year-old Cheryl Page dons her running shoes for a 5-mile run. Her father, an army major, goes with her, and it was while he was posted in Germany that Cheryl's marathon career started at the age of 5. Last year, she finished the Berlin Marathon in 4 hours 53 minutes, a time many grown men would envy. In 6 years, she's earned an impressive collection of 120 medals, but now she's come to a halt. 2 weeks ago, the family came back to Britain, and Cheryl found she was banned from marathon running because British rules say she's too young to run the distance, more than 26 miles. So at the recent Winchester Marathon, Cheryl hid round the corner near the start, then joined the race as it came by. But she daren't flout the rules at the London Marathon.
Well, I think it's fair that they should have a rule, because some children will just say, oh, right, I'll go and do a marathon tomorrow, but I think whereas I've ran 2 marathons and also I have been building up for 6 years, I think that it is a bit unfair.
Cheryl's ambition is to run for Britain in the Olympics, but she won't qualify until 1992 when she's 21. This is Anne Diamond, ITN, Andover.
What a shame. Good night.
And now the weather forecast for the south. It'll be dry with light variable winds overnight, allowing temperatures to fall to 2 degrees centigrade by dawn, when the ground frost is also likely. Fog will return to many areas later this evening, particularly to the coasts, becoming dense early tomorrow before slowly thinning through the morning. Periods of sunshine are likely during the afternoon as temperatures reach a maximum of 6 degrees centigrade. The winds will be light, becoming northerly and increasing to moderate late in the day.